Have you ever wondered why two web pages can look exactly the same, but one ranks higher on Google or is more accessible to screen readers? The secret might just be in the structure, and that structure is called semantic HTML. Hello guys, and welcome to Creative Arts Academy. In this video, we'll be looking at a topic called semantic HTML, why it matters, and how using the right tags can level up your web development game. So, firstly, what is semantic HTML? Semantic HTML simply means using HTML tags that clearly describes the purpose or meaning of the content inside them. For example, we have the header, we have article, we have footer. Header is used for the top section of or the intro part of your page. Article is used for maybe standalone content like maybe a blog post. Footer is for the bottom part of your page. So that's the central idea of semantic HTML. Now let's look at something to make you understand this better. Now looking at this is a website. This is Sevala website. So looking at this website alone, let me scroll down. You can see the content of this website. You can see the content. You can see first, okay. First we have this part of the website. Next we have this part. Then we have this deploy your app before coffee gets good. So we also have this overview part. We have this our services part. We have this other parts. We have deploy around the globe, down to the footer. So this is the footer. So in all of this, if you notice, this website is actually well structured and follows what we call semantic HTML. Now let's explore from the beginning part of the website. Let's explore. So first of all, you see here, on a normal sense, if you look at this website, what will you call this part? What will you tell somebody? Okay, this is the name of this part. On a normal sense, what will you call it? Just looking at this part. Of course, you will say, okay, the top side of the website, or you can say the header. The header. So that is semantic HTML. You knowing that, okay, this is the top part of the website, all these stuff they are called the header. And then going down, you can see this other part of the website. You can call it, okay, this is the body, this is the content, this is the body. On a normal, yes, both the header, everything is under the body tag in our VS Code or your website under the body tag. The head tag is for this which is the URL bar. I explained this when I was explaining the video I did on boilerplate. So if you've not watched the video, I'll leave a link to the video HTML boilerplate in the description where I explained the function of the head and this URL bar. So here you know that this is the header, and this header falls under the body. It's just like, okay, the header of your website, of your body. For example, you're writing a letter. You want to write a letter, of course you put the address, receiver's address, sender's address, and you also put your title. So this is more like the title of your letter. This URL bar is more like the address. Then this header, this head part of the website where you can see this try Sevilla today and get 50, the Sevilla logo, is more like the title of your letter. And then this other part, deploy your apps, down, is more like the body of your letter. And this part, which is the footer, is more like, okay, let's say your conclusion. Let me not say conclusion, or I can say your signature. Now let's go back to the top. I want you to understand this semantic HTML properly. So knowing that this part is actually the head, that is semantic HTML. After the head comes what? Remember, after the head comes body. So in semantic HTML, we don't just call it body. This body is divided into sections. Sections. Like this deploy your hours before your coffee gets cold. It is more like, okay, this is section 1. In your letter, you can call it, okay, first paragraph. After writing first paragraph, you have the second paragraph. All the paragraphs, they are under the body of the letter, but then you divide it into paragraphs. So this deploy your R before your copy gets cold. It's more like our first paragraph, but in semantic HTML we call it section 1, and then we have this part, our services, is the section 2. Now it's talking about services, so it's more like, okay, you are writing later and then you give a paragraph talk about your services. So after this our services, here we have the reviews, more like, okay, this is section 3. After that we have this part, bring any workload, section 4. So just like, okay, the first paragraph, we have this part, section 5, and then we have the call to action, which is the CTA, section 6, and finally we have the footer. So this part now is not a section, rather it's called the footer. So we've this is just everything about semantic HTML, how you structure your website. After the header, you have the sections. Under sections, you can have stuff like articles, and after the whole sections, what comes next is your footer, which is like the conclusion of everything. So I guess you've gotten the overview of semantic HTML. Now, looking at this website alone, let's identify most of the tags and stuff used. So for this header, if you notice, they wrote here, try Sevilla today and get $50 free credits. If you've been following other videos I've been doing, you should be able to, okay, look at this and identify the tag used. So for this, you can easily say this is a div. So they can use a div and then maybe h3, and they would write this stuff. And for this $50, they use a bold tag, and this is it. So all of this is under the head tag. And then for this other side, products, resources, this is called the nav bar. So this nav bar is still under the head tag. All of this is called the nav, is still under the head tag. And then we come to the over to the first section. The first section, align content, center, and then they typed in this. So it's just something simple, and we can actually replicate this website. Now, we'll not be doing that actually, we'll not be replicating this website, but let me just show you guys so you can be able to understand semantic HTML properly. So here in my body, what comes first is what? Header. So we have the header. Under the header, now I'm working with this particular website, this Sevala. Under the header, we said the first thing they did was to put a div. Under the div, they had this try Sevala today and get $50 credit. So we have a div, and what was the test? Say try Sevala today. Let's see how they wrote it. Today and get $50 credits. And get $50 credit. So let's quickly preview what we wrote now. Let's preview it. So here is what we've written. Try Sevilla today and get $50 credit. So they actually put this $50 in a bold tag or in a strong tag. So it's in a strong tag. So you can see that the $50 is now bold. Now this is the div. Now after the div, you can see the nav bar came next. So most websites don't actually have this first div. This first div is just like an aside, just like it's mostly used for an advert. Sometimes I want to place advert and stuff like that. You can see type Sevilla today and get $50 free credit. So next is the nav bar, which is still under the header. Still under the header. So after this, we come here and we have our nav. Now under the nav, we have a div. The div the div is for this image, which is the Sevilla logo. So we have the div for this image, and then we have the div for this is the list for this navigations, and then we have a div for these buttons. So like I said, we are not actually replicating the website, but I'm just showing you the things that were used for that website, and then how semantic HTML functions. So let's leave this aside. Now we are done with the header. What comes next? Let's say section. So section, and under the section we can have something like article. An article is like sometimes when you go to some websites. Okay, let's say when you open your Google, you see stuffs like blog posts. It doesn't really have to relate with the website. They are just like informations, abstract information. When you open your Chrome, your browser, either Google or Chrome, you scroll up, you will just see different news feed. So those news feed, they are called article. We use article for that. So after our article, next thing that came next was we have another section. So maybe the section 2. Like I said, there's over 6 sections in that. So we have the section 3. So let's give it a class so you'll be able to understand perfectly. We say section 1. So call it 1. For this, then the second section, give it a class. We call it 2. Third section, give it a class. Call it 3. The fourth section, then the fifth section. We said we had over 6 sections in that Sevilla website. And lastly, we had the footer. So this is just the structure. This is what we call semantic HTML, structure of a website. Understanding this will help your website very well, so that you know that okay, this is where I need to put this. You cannot put a nav a navigation bar under a section. I don't know if you are getting the point now. Know that okay, nav bar is usually okay for the top, which is the header, or some websites usually have nav bar too in their footer, but most times it is in the header aspect of the website. So you cannot put your nav bar in the section. So understanding and knowing that I cannot use nav for section is what we call semantic HTML. You know the things okay that you need to use for the sections. You know the stuff you need to use for header. You know the stuff you need to use for the footer aspect. Like we reference in this website, this several websites. You can see here for the header, you can see the nav bar, and then coming over to the body or the main content of the website, you can see the section one, which is the first section. You can see the second section, our services. You can see the third section, reviews, and just like that, and down to the footer aspect. That is semantic HTML in a nutshell. And this website is very, very good. This is very good and responsive. The layout, color, let's see. You can see this website is so good and responsive. And maybe in one of the videos or one of the tutorials, we might create something similar to this. So keep following Creative Art Academy, subscribe, and keep watching more videos on web development to improve your web development skill. If you enjoyed the video, ensure you subscribe, like, and comment. Drop your questions in the comment section. See you in the next video.